And we're live.
Perfect.
So, first of all, I completely forgot to ask the name I'll be addressing my guest with. So, please tell me. Oh, wait a minute!
You
Wait
can
a
go.
minute! Wait a minute! I didn't stop my own feed back. So, okay, that happens. Um, Please tell us how you want to be addressed, and give us a short introduction.
Okay, you can just call me Grayson. That's my real name. On the internet, I'm known as Greedy Ling. I do YouTube commentary on various topics. I also do but I'm mostly known as a guy, smaller YouTuber. I mean, I only have like 800 some subs, but I just commentate on different stuff. I've rarely gone into scientific topics. The only scientific topic I've ever gotten into is, I guess, genders and a little bit of climate change. But I'm usually on the fence with a lot of stuff. I'm open to either side of a guy that tries to find common ground
Okay.
between both ideals.
We don't have all of the connection problems solved yet. You're dropping out at some points. I think
Okay.
that's a connection issue. But do you have more windows open? Maybe I don't know what you're using to have this talk.
I just closed out all my other windows just now.
Okay, because it helps if you have less windows open. I would advise to have the actual video open so you can follow the chat. There are not too much people there yet, but it could be there could be more people as we go along.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the topic you suggested, you wanted to talk about evolution.
Yes.
Okay, can you first tell us where you stand on evolution? What's
I never want to take evolution out of schools. I believe it is such an important scientific thing that we need to discuss historically as well. I just do not think that it should be taught as fact. I believe that it is definitely a scientific theory, but it lacks observation, and I feel like there is just too many holes in it to be taught as 100% fact, though there is some decent evidence for the theory.
okay? Since that to me at least is strange, can you point out what you think is a hole in the theory?
So are we talking about so let's start with do you want to start with biological evolution or like from species and kinds?
There's only one theory of evolution,
Yeah, through species and
and
kinds, yeah.
that's no, I wouldn't say species and kinds. It's the change in allele frequency in a species over time. We have a specialist on the topic in the chat, so I think he'll point out if I say something stupid here.
Same for me too as well, probably.
But so yeah, what's a hole? I because I don't see any.
So first of all, I'd like to point out for evolution, if it is so scientifically solid, why has there been so many frauds throughout history? For example, with the animal embryos, with Ernest Haeckel, if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's seen those drawings. I remember when I was in middle school, they showed those in the textbooks, but it was proven
Okay,
to be.
I think I can answer that very quickly, and
Okay.
the reason for that is just money. People wanted to make money. There are a lot of frauds that were all solved by scientists in the field. By
Yes.
the way,
Yeah.
none of them were solved by anyone outside the scientific field. A lot of them were even called to be a fraud before they were presented to the public. I think Piltdown Man was one of them. That was already disproven before it got any attention from the media.
Yeah.
The one you mentioned, Haeckel's drawings,
Yeah.
the drawings as such are incorrect, and
Yeah.
he admitted to that, as far as I know. And he also stated why he did it, because he wanted to emphasize the effect. What Haeckel's drawings are showing is what actually happens. So in most of the biology textbooks today, there are pictures instead of Haeckel's drawings, who, and those pictures pretty much paint the same picture. There's no difference. So Haeckel was dishonest in his drawings, but in the point that he made, he was absolutely correct.
Well,
I know this is something that creationists and a lot of the creationist websites still attack as
yeah,
something being relevant when it isn't,
absolutely.
because the drawings don't show up in textbooks anymore, and haven't for a long time. So um, I don't know. Maybe it's because the people aren't that much into fact checking, that they haven't found that out yet. But so to me, but that's not a whole. That's a fraud. And frauds, you have frauds everywhere. When there's
Oh
money
yes,
to be
absolutely.
made, uh, people will try and make money through fraud. So, but what do you think is actually missing from the theory of evolution? So you think it's not a fact?
Okay. Probably the biggest one for me is the fossil record. So evolution is an extremely, extremely slow process, which is why we do not observe it today. It takes millions and millions of years. So I won't bring up the idea that, oh, we don't observe it today. I'm not going to use that argument. But the fossil
Actually,
record,
actually, 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 that's wrong, because we do observe it today. It has been observed several times in lab conditions and in nature.
which laboratory tests are you referring to?
The most familiar ones done in the lab are with fruit flies, because they just have uh, shorter generation spans. So that's
Mhm.
that's what's done in the lab. The one I always use, I don't know if you're aware of that. That's the silver fox experiment. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it, yes, but I'm not like an expert on all that research or anything. But I am familiar with it.
Okay. Okay, I can summarize it
Yeah.
a little bit. Um, in Russia, they were breeding silver foxes for the fur industry.
Hmm.
The only setback there was that silver foxes are extremely aggressive. So what they did is they tried to breed foxes that are more docile.
Oh, okay.
And what happened is something that they didn't expect, and that is that those foxes more and more became similar to what we know as dogs. So their fur changed, the tails changed, the ears changed, the overall form of the animal changed just
Mm.
by selecting for more docile animals. So what they ended up with is basically uh, a dog, except it isn't a dog; it's still a fox because
Yeah.
its ancestor was a fox. So everything that comes from it is still a fox, but it's not a silver fox anymore. It's a completely different animal. And that's happened in a period, I think, over 50 years. So we have observed that now in this case, you could argue that it was people selecting for the change.
Yeah.
And I would grant you that. But the same thing could happen in nature. Particular treat is favored in nature, there will be natural selection for that treat, and you will end up with a different animal.
Yeah, I believe in natural selection to an extent, but I just don't believe from species to a completely different species. In your example, it's a new species, it's a new animal, but it's still a fox though. It is more docile and domesticated like a dog, but they're still all canines.
Yes, but it can't get anything else than a fox because the fox is the ancestor. That's the same reason while humans are still apes, and while humans are still monkeys, and while humans are still fish, which might seem strange, but it it is what it is. Those are our common
Um,
ancestors. So we are still in that family.
Definitely
It
wouldn't say that we're ancestors of fish by any means. Because again, with going back to the fossil record, there has never we in the fossils we have never found transitional creatures like a
Sure we have. Sure we have. And um, one of the major finds we have was predicted by the theory of evolution. Just because of the data we've gained there, we were able to pinpoint where we would find a particular creature and what traits it would have. And that's how, and a friend of mine calls his tick all the boxes Talic. It's Tiktaalik. They specifically found that using the predictions that the theory of evolution makes. And Tiktaalik is an intermediate species between fish and amphibians.
well, a lot of people, well, if there was truly transitional life forms in the fossil record, why do we never find actual literal non-functioning appendages? We always find fully developed forms. We never find things like a nub of a leg or a wing. We always find fully functional. You can say
I,
they're transitional, but they're always fully functioning. Where's the
I,
species that died off
I
that there
have
were
to
not?
I have to disagree because Tiktaalik, the one that I just mentioned,
Uh-huh.
doesn't have fully functional fins and doesn't have fully functional legs. It has something in between a fin and a leg that is in the water used as a fin and on land used as a leg. It's neither one of them. We've also found dinosaurs with what you would call partial wings. And we know now that dinosaurs developed feathers because they were warm-blooded, and the wings were in, at first just used when they were breeding to cover the eggs, to have a bigger nest, so they could keep the eggs warm, and that's how they developed feathers. So um, it's not that a limb, any limb like a fin, it doesn't stop being a fin and then growing half a leg until it becomes a leg. The fin morphs over time into a leg, and we have those fossils. One of the best we can name is the lineage of whales. We have those fossils completely. The complete lineage from the land animal to the modern whale. Every single step.
But those are still functioning parts, though. Like with the feathers.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
are functioning. Those are fully developed.
Yes, but a wing you can't fly with is not a wing, right?
Well, of course not. No.
Okay. And we have birds today that can't fly.
Yeah, like penguins.
Like?
Oh, I said like penguins.
Yes, and penguins are an incredible good transitional species, because penguins, the wings of penguins now function, and given enough time, they will develop more and better fins, and might even end up as being an aquatic animal. But you and I won't get there to see it. But the penguin is a transitional form.
Okay. So let's move away from fossils. You've definitely answered my questions to the fullest. Let's move. What?
I hope so. I'm looking at the chat, and I don't know if you can see him. The one that I pointed out is Jackson Wheat. He's throwing in a lot more. Most of the words that I can't even pronounce correctly. So at least there's that. But I can dodge that because I'm Dutch and English is my third language. So I get to play dumb when it comes to not pronouncing everything correctly. But yeah, at least I hope I answered the questions. So let's go to the to your next thing.
Okay, so even more so than the fossils, organs. So how did the heart, lung, stomach, veins, blood, kidneys develop in the first animal slowly? Like you can't have, how could the organs evolve?
That's a good question, and that's one that I think I'm not able to answer.
I don't think I've ever found an answer for that.
Well, what I do know is that how things got started is it started with one-celled organisms.
Yeah.
And through a conversation with Kent Hovind, Jackson actually dug into this, and he found out that there are actually 2-celled, 3-celled, 4-celled organisms, and still are living today. So that's a gap closed, I think.
Yeah.
What also happens is that if an animal evolves having more cells, is that cells are going to specialize in particular things. The cells on the outside will more and more resemble some kind of a skin, because that's their function. Other things out. That's at least one example I could give. Jackson says the heart started as a simple myocyte. That's great, Jackson, but that doesn't do me any good because I don't know what a myocyte is. And I think my guest doesn't either. So you'll have to dumb it down for us, Jackson, if you want to help. But that's how organs developed, because cells started to specialize, in certain things, and that made up for a single organism to develop. Parts of the cell became responsive to light, which over time gave us eyes, and eyes we know now evolved several times, because we have a lot of different forms of eyes, but it all started out the same way. And if we would have had design in any way, then every animal would have the same cells, or the same eyes, because then you would have an eye which would be perfect for land animals, and maybe a slightly different eye which would be better for a sea animal, but you wouldn't have the diversity that we have now. I hope it answers your question at least a little bit.
No, it does a little bit for sure. Oh, so he says that it is a heart cell. That's what a myocyte is.
Okay. Yeah, but it basically comes down to that groups of cells specialize, and that's how organs develop, and because there's a lineage from where we came from, we all have similar parts compared to our ancestors, and that's also where you can see where it's split off in different ways. Those animals developed completely different. And I think, if I'm correct, and Jackson can beat me if I'm not, the laryngeal nerve is one of the best evidences that we came from fish, because in fish they developed, fish don't have a neck, and so the shortest way for the nerve was from the brain to the larynx. And when fish developed into amphibians and necks evolved on animals, because of the placing of that nerve that was around a blood vessel close to the heart, the laryngeal nerve had to evolve with it, because it couldn't jump that blood vessel. So what we have now is that in a giraffe, that's one of the silliest things you've ever seen, because you have a nerve that goes from the brain to the heart around that blood vessel, and then goes back up the neck to reach the larynx. But that goes back to when we were fish. So that's also, at least I think, is a great way to show that evolution is just a fact. Because if it wasn't, that would be something that could never have happened. That wouldn't have happened, because it's a lot more vulnerable when it has to take such a long way to reach its destination. Everything can happen to the nerve on the way, and the easiest and best way would be to have it from the brain to the larynx. So yeah, that's pretty much. But can I ask what you think happened? If you think that evolution, that there are holes in evolution,
okay,
what do you think happened? How did everything get here?
I would not say I'm a creationist, but I would say that I believe in at least some form of intellectual design. I'm not going to say it's the Judeo-Christian, it's out of Islam. I'm not going to say it's the god of any of the gods of Hinduism or the ones we find in Japan. aliens, I don't know. I just believe that the things that we observe are just too complex to come by accident or um, by
Yeah, but not,
chance. Even
yes,
it.
and
Oh,
nothing in evolution is an accident or a chance.
well, yeah, it's natural selection, of course.
No, no, no. There are a lot more things than just natural selection. It's not only that. There's natural selection. There's sexual selection. Uh, there's environmental selection. Um, there are a lot of things that
Account for.
come. Yeah.
Yeah, many attributes. Yeah.
So and so it isn't in any way just a chance or an accident. It's what I think is at least it's how I look at it. The best explanation is it's just life responding to its environment, and it responds in a way that those who fit their niche the best survive.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't survival of the fittest, it's survival of those who can adapt the best.
Yeah. See, I definitely believe in adaptation for sure. I mean, I have a friend that has like literally a dog farm where they breed different dogs. So I believe in that. Obviously, you can't deny that clearly. Uh, but from going one species to another, it's just I can't. That just doesn't make enough sense to me. And obviously, it does to other people as well. But they're gonna
But
give
what
stupid arguments.
let's define the word first. What do you think is adaptation?
Well, adapting to the environment. I mean, what is raining? I'm going to put on a raincoat. um, but like what was observed with the foxes that you were talking about in Russia, um, they were wanting humans were wanting to adapt this animal to make it more docile, to make it more domesticated. So that is breeding. That's it is transformative, but it's not evolution. It's not evolutionary.
No, but the principles that are used in doing that are the principles of evolution. The fact that humans are interfering with it and taking advantage of it in a way through selecting on their conditions, that doesn't make it any different. Because
Well,
here, as I said, here it's humans selecting for a more docile animal. Um, let's just throw out the hypothetical that if a more docile animal was in an environment where it would more likely survive, then that exact same thing would happen in nature without humans interfering.
oh yes, absolutely. That's why you find different kinds of well, for example, Darwin's finches. Those are different beaks, different sizes of beaks, different uses for the beaks on the different islands. That was naturally done without human interference. But again, that's not a different. That's not a completely different animal. That's still a bird. They're still
Yes.
finches. It's adaptation. It's not evolution.
Okay.
It's natural selection, sure, but it's not the big scheme of where we came from apes.
Okay, but now you say it's still a bird, but is a penguin still a bird?
A penguin is a kind of bird, yeah.
Why is it a bird?
Because of many attributes it has. It has wings, though it can't fly with them. It still makes use of them, but they're still wings. It has a beak. I can't really define what a bird is, but it's still in the bird family.
Yes, and that's I think there's your mistake, because you go by visible traits. and that's not how we define a species. Again, I'll have to have a glance at Jackson if I'm using the correct terms. But what's the difference between a tenrec
Yeah.
and a porcupine?
Difference between a what and a porcupine?
A tenrec and a porcupine. You don't know what a tenrec is, I think.
A tenrec? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
Oh no, I know what a tenrec is. They're like little. They kind of look like hedgehogs.
Yeah, a hedgehog. And I got the porcupine wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're asking what the difference between a hedgehog and a tenrec is?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know what the difference is. They do look. They're visually similar.
Yes. And still they're not related in any way. They come from a completely different. They come from a completely different lineage. They just happened to evolve
and look similar
in a similar way. And so that's why I asked how you define what a bird is, because if you just go by it has a beak and it has wings.
Well, it lays eggs. There's all this other stuff that does too.
Yes. And yet that still doesn't get us whether it's a bird or not. That's what I was trying to point out.
Yeah, no, I understood what you were trying to point out. Absolutely. I just can't really describe all the attributes of a bird like properly. But no, I know it's definitely on the molecular level and all this and that, skeletal and everything, muscles and this and that. But
yes, but what I'm trying to point out is that if something evolves from a bird,
yeah,
it will stay a bird. No one is saying that it won't.
Yeah.
The fact that the animal that evolves doesn't look in any way like a bird is something completely different, because we might resemble an ape or a monkey, but we don't resemble an amphibian or a fish. Yet we are still descendant from them, so we are still part of it. And I know that's difficult to explain. I tried with Kent. I've tried with Kent Hovind. Let's say that
good old Kent.
Yes. Well, I tried to say if your grandfather was named Jones, and he got a kid, a boy, he's still Jones. He's not the same as his father, but he's still a Jones. If he gets a son and that's you're still a Jones. Your grandfather, but you're still a Jones, and no matter how far you go down that line, it'll still be a Jones. That's how I try to explain it, because you're still what you descended from in any sort. So when you say you can't go to a different animal, we have that explained. We know how whales evolved. We have every single step in their evolution. And when you go back and look at a whale embryo, you can even see that Haeckel's drawings are correct, because you can see the stages of development, and you can actually see the nose moving up while the embryo is developing to the top of the head. and become a blowhole. That's stuff we already know. I think, and I don't blame you completely. I blame the American educational system because it lacks, I think, things that I've learned in school, and I'm 55, so school's a little way back.
Yeah.
But things I've learned in schools, Americans are completely unaware of it.
Oh yes, absolutely. Our education system sucks.
Yes. So that's to me at least. That's a good reason not to attack people for not knowing this. But in a time like this, you have the internet. You can find it out. It's
Yeah.
not that hard. And I could point you to a few channels that have videos on it, so you can at least have some images to go with it. I would recommend that you visit Jackson Wheat, who's in the chat now. He has a channel. He just started out with videos on
Oh, he has a
evolution.
YouTube.
He's
He has a YouTube channel.
Yes, he's a starting YouTuber.
Or,
and
okay, I'll definitely Jackson.
So
okay.
Yeah, Jackson Wheat.
Okay. I'll keep a tab.
He has some very good videos explaining for once the mechanics of evolution, and he's not done yet. And if he is, I'll urge him to make even more. But yeah, the information is still out there. And can I ask? I'm not trying to be insulting. Can I ask if you are religious in any way?
Yes, I am religious.
Okay. Do you want to tell us what kind of religion?
Oh, I'm Christian. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the reason I ask is because I've seen a lot of Christian denominations that actually do everything in their power to block the knowledge that we have. So and that's still why I think that ideas and actions can be attacked, not a person per se.
Yeah.
Unless Charis just threw it in, unless you're Ken Ham, then I think you're just a dishonest liar in for the money. But yeah, that's just me.
So I guess I have another question. So we all come from common ancestors, and those came from a single-celled organism. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay.
Yes.
So where did the single-celled organism come from? It came from, like, where did that come from? This is a legitimate, just honest.
Yes.
If you know, of course.
Well, I can tell you because I asked Jackson exactly the same question because I didn't know correctly. What happened is that over time the building blocks for life formed, and just through chemical reactions, and I'll skip a lot of the stages, I'm sure, but we got to RNA, which are the building blocks for DNA. And RNA is self-replicating. So I'm not sure if you could call it life, but it's self-replicating, and that formed DNA, which is self-replicating. And I recently had a conversation with another friend of mine about what exactly is life, because we still haven't defined what life is. No one has.
Yeah.
And so far it's pointing that life is just a chemical reaction, nothing more, nothing less.
So like they say that it comes from like a priozotic soup, if I'm pronouncing that right. So where did those elements come from? Because they say like it was
Yeah,
like the ocean.
I'm going way out of my territory now, but I'll 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 try to at least to explain as far as I know it, because as I said, I'm not a scientist,
Yeah.
but I'll try to explain.
Okay.
What happened at the Big Bang is that only a few elements were present directly after the Big Bang. Every other element was formed in stars. By stars exploding, it got, as you could call it, seeded in the universe, and that formed planets and other new stars. So now we have a planet with a lot of elements present on the planet, and maybe some more developing on the planet by chemical reactions. What happened on Earth is when the Earth cooled down to have the possibility for water to be in a liquid form. We had, of course, rain. So, and the rain is what brought some of the minerals back into early ponds and to what later became an ocean, and what I think creationists would call the primordial soup,
Yeah.
because they like that word, because nothing's more ridiculous than to
Saying
think
soup.
to think that you came from soup. You didn't
No,
come from
that
soup.
was not my intent. I just don't have
No.
the vast
Yeah,
vocabulary for that.
that's why I specifically said creationists and
Yeah.
not you, because I don't think that's something you would do. But so now we have all these kinds of minerals and other uh, and chemicals in in the water that can react with each other, and maybe with the water they're in. So that makes for new and even more chemical reactions, and that's how life arose. That's in strictly layman's terms, but I think I'm at least a little bit accurate in what I'm saying. So did that answer the question?
No, I think it actually did answer the question very well, actually.
Okay.
As long as you don't end up being wrong, of course. I mean,
if I'm wrong, I'll make sure that Jackson points that out.
Yeah.
He's I'm missing just one guy in the comments at the moment, who I think could have helped out. But yeah, well, that's just too bad. I have to do it on my own, and I think that's even better, because I like doing it on my own. But it's good to have people looking over your shoulder and telling you if you're wrong or not. So, but I think I was at least fairly accurate in the basics of how it got here. So, and that's so now we've covered pretty much everything that leads from the start of life, from abiogenesis,
Yeah.
through evolution. And I don't know if you do you watch debates on the internet?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay, did you by any chance catch the debate Bill Ludlow had with Kent Hovind about human evolution?
No, I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I try to actually avoid Kent Hovind, but
You do,
yeah, I do. I
and I
don't agree
try,
with a lot of his stuff. So
and I'm trying to get more talks with him. So
that
we're
could actually
polar
be really
opposites.
interesting, actually.
Sorry?
Oh, I just said that could actually be very interesting. More talks with you and Kent, because I listened to your guys' first one.
Yeah, you saw my pin tweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping to get more, but and I'm hoping to get some from Answers in Genesis, because that's my goal for now.
Mm.
But I think I'm a little bit too small a fish for them to take me on. But
Hey, as long as you have Kent Hovind in the titles, I'll bring in people.
yeah, and I to me it's just a sport. Kent Hovind is what brought me here. The reason that I'm on Twitter and on YouTube is just one reason, and that's one video, and that's 100 reasons why evolution is stupid.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I just got hooked on what I at first thought was comedy. What
Oh,
turned out
okay.
what turned out to be someone who was 100%. Yeah, I wouldn't say the word sincere, because I've since found that Kent Hovind actually agrees with evolution, but he uses different wordings to hide that fact.
Oh, okay. Well,
But
if I made as much money as he used to before he like went to prison or whatever, I probably do the same thing.
I think he's still not doing that bad. If you can have what is it? What does it have? I think they have 12 four-wheelers now,
What?
$14,000 a piece.
Wow.
Um, he has 150 acres of land, I think, worth 1.5 million. So
Uh huh.
I don't think he's doing too bad. I think
Jeez.
I still do. I think I still do worse than he does.
Oh, same.
But yeah, but yeah, as I said, it's and I don't blame you completely.
Uh huh.
And when I say completely, I do mean there is a little bit to blame, because
Yeah.
having the internet, you have the chance to find out the same information that I do, and most of what I know
Mm-hmm.
I got from the internet. It's just you have to look at the right
Yeah. Yeah.
sources.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one uh, which I could point you to, and that's AronRa.
Okay.
Do you know AronRa?
No, I do not. Honestly, after this, if you want to, DM me on Twitter or whatever, and just send me like a couple of things that you think would be good, because I'm willing to do the research and everything. I like,
What
you know.
what what I'll do is I'll try and put up the links in the description here
Okay, perfect.
from the video, so at least then everyone who wants to have a look at those sources can have a look. I always try to do that as far as good as I can. But
Mm.
there are a couple of people. Trady Explainer is a good one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's on YouTube as well. He does short videos on pretty much everything to debunk creationism in any sort of way. But he's a I'd say he's a good source to have. You're not a creationist. I just saw him pop up in the chat, Paulogia. I at least would say follow him as well, because he's one of my favorites, at least now. For now, he's mostly targeting answers in Genesis and Eric Hovind. But he has a lot of stuff as well.
Okay.
So I could point you to several good sources at least.
Okay.
But is there anything you would like to throw in now that I could maybe answer?
Well, first I just want to apologize to the chat because I haven't really been for just asking questions, I guess. I wasn't really coming in for a huge debate or anything. I was trying to make this just a good conversation going rather than
can I throw something in?
Yeah, of course.
Never apologize for asking questions.
Oh no, it seems that everyone was expecting like this huge debate or something, but yeah.
Well, a huge debate might be fun.
Yeah.
but having someone in a chat asking questions and sincerely wanting to have the answers, I think is even better.
Yeah. I'm definitely a rookie when it comes to terminology wrong, and I know that's gonna upset people, but I'm definitely better at debating things like economics, sociology, psychology, government, that kind of stuff. That's definitely my forte. I'm not very good at talking science and stuff, but yeah.
Okay, I think that the chat reacted because I think everyone
let me see.
is telling you that you shouldn't apologize for asking questions. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah, because one of the reasons that I have this channel is I want to make people think.
Yeah.
And for now, for the talks I had so far, I doubt that I made a lot of my opponents actually think. There are a few exceptions that come to mind. Michelle, who I've talked to with my co-hosts quite recently, is one of them. So it's not a blanket statement, but the vehement creationist opponents, let me put it like that, I'm not going to make them think, and I'm not going to make them change their position. So the reason for my channel is that I hope that other people who will listen to the talks start to think. Now, having you as someone who actually would like the answers, and this is an open question. I know he's here. Would you mind having me bring Jackson in if he wants to? Because Jackson can explain a lot more than I can.
So, I do not mind whatsoever.
So let me see how to do this.
Okay.
I need an invite code. He'll get it. I think through the audio. Now I have to get to Twitter. I sent Jackson the link, and
perfect.
I hope he can join us, because He knows a lot more about this stuff than I do.
Uh-huh.
The fact that I'm bringing him in isn't going to be a 2 against 1, because I'll be learning along with you. So if it's a 2 against 1, it's you and me against Jackson, because so I've sent him the link. I think he's a
Okay.
little bit behind on the audio, because he just said my Twitter's always open.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh, yeah.
he has the link, and could be that he needs to get his gear so he can join.
Oh,
And he's here. And
there
he's
we
here.
go.
Jackson, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you. We can hear you.
All right.
Great you could join, because
Thank you.
as you saw, I was a little bit out of my league. How did I do?
Yeah.
Hey, I was just enjoying everything. It's a good time. I think you did pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, because
The
if I said something stupid, please point out how stupid I am. Because
no, I think you,
yeah, as you know, I like to learn as well. So
yeah, I think you
but
gave like the fair standard answers for most of the stuff. So
okay. Let me throw back one point that we addressed, because I'm curious myself. Organs, how do they evolve?
how do organs evolve? They evolve essentially in the same way that everything else evolves, which is through mutations, a selective or non-selective mechanism, and uh, and then just development over time. We were talking about the heart earlier, which is actually interesting. Um, the heart is made up of cells called myocytes, um, and so myocytes have been around for a very long time, predating bilaterians, which are animals that have left-right symmetry, which basically, us, fish, insects, worms, etc. And so these myocytes go all the way back to our common ancestor with radially symmetrical animals like cnidarians, like anemones and jellyfish, and ctenophores, like comb jellies. And so, an ancestor that we share with them, which would have been an ancestral metazoan appearing after our split with the ancestor of sponges, uh, then there were likely, based on looking at embryos of these animals, primitive myocytes that would have developed, or that did develop over time, into more complex organs like the heart, or like hearts, because there are lots of different types of hearts in different animals. In the chat, I mentioned a paper by P.Z. Myers. He's a really cool biologist. He's an embryologist. A guy I did a chat with him, or Peter and I did a chat with him a little while back. He wrote a
Yeah.
paper on it called Diploblasts and Triploblasts on his blog called the Pharyngula. And so you might want to check that out if you're
Yeah.
interested in that topic.
Okay.
But here's the problem, Jackson, and I'm just speaking for myself completely. I just put in the chat that I'm not stupid, and I really am not stupid. But
Very true.
When I listen to you talking, and when I look at a paper, it's very hard to follow, because the terminology that is used there is something I'm completely not familiar with. So if it comes to anything that a pure layman could at least understand, are there any good sources for that? I
Well,
mentioned I mentioned your videos, and I mentioned AronRa's videos.
oh yeah, AronRa is a great guy to look at. Yeah, I did a series of videos. It's four on. The series is titled "How Evolution Works." The first video is just an introduction. It's what sort of basic concepts about biology need to be understood before we can talk about how evolution works. Then the second video is mutations. The third one is mechanisms, and the fourth one is speciation, which I titled, which being I guess kind of argumentative. I titled it macroevolution. So yeah, I have those out there on my channel if you want to check those out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Charis just pointed out in the chat that Grayson needs to know how to look stuff up, and I
Yes.
think she has a very good point, because we all have the internet. That's all fine and dandy, but there's I think just the same amount of nonsense on the internet as there is real science. So if it comes to websites, because I still haven't found a reliable website to have as a source. And Grayson, you can jump in at any time you want. Don't let us hog the conversation.
No, I'm listening and learning here. That's what I'm doing.
In my videos, when I make videos, I cite my sources. So in the not the comment section, the description, if I make generally when I make a claim about some topic, I'll have a source where I got that claim, so you can go look at the source for yourself. Like if you don't believe me, you know.
Well, that's another point, because I always like to state that the people that I talk to, that they shouldn't believe me in anything I say, because I could be lying as much as the next guy. So I urge people to do their own fact checking and to see if in fact I'm lying, yes or no. But Grayson, throw in a question.
Throw in a question?
Because after all, it's your chat and not mine. This is the one where you get to ask the questions, and at least now
Okay.
we have someone who's capable of answering correctly.
I guess can we expand upon the fossils with the transitional forms, I guess?
Okay, sure. I guess I have a question to ask you then. What do you mean by transitional form when you say that phrase?
I mean, like with like appendages, for example.
With like
I
what?
mean, with like appendages, like I mean, if we started from I guess whales transforming towards
Okay. Yeah, we can do that one. Okay, so so whales are in this are in an order of mammals called set Artiodactyla, which it
Okay.
used to just be Artiodactyla, which are the cloven hooved mammals like cows and bison and deer and giraffes and whatnot. So so they're in this group, and it used to just be Artiodactyla. That was until scientists started discovering fossils of artiodactyls that had similarities with the aquatic whales, Pakicetus, Indohyus, Ambulocetus, etc. And so it wasn't just based on the fossils though that we realized, hey, maybe whales are more closely related to mammals than to fish. So we also use genetics. Genetics show that the closest relatives of the cetaceans, which are whales and dolphins, are hippos. And they share a lot of morphological and genetic similarities, but whales also share a lot of genetic similarities with all the artiodactyls. There's a great website where you can look at the relationships among different animals is called one zoom. Putting it over here in our group chat on the side. So one zoom. Um, so genetics confirm the story that we saw from the fossils. We see that pachycetids and ambulocetids have these similarities, like the ear structure. Whales have a unique ear structure, or inner ear structure. They also have a specific head structure and tooth structure, which is very important for mammalogists. Studying the teeth of mammals is very, very important because mammals have very specific teeth structures. And so they found this is all in like the 1990s and 80s, I believe. We started finding pachycetids and ambulocetids, and it just kept getting more and more and more whale-like. We found guys like Basilosaurus in the early 1900s, and Remingtonocetids and these other guys. And so, and like Peter was talking about, when you look at embryos, we see that whales develop external limbs, which they retract while they're developing. They also their nose, the blowhole, starts on the tip of their nose like it does with all artiodactyls, but it migrates up the head to the top of the head where it is in whales because it's their blowhole. And you can see that shift not only in the embryo but also in the fossils. If you look at a Pachycetus, you see that it's on the tip of the nose, and then an Ambulocetus, it moves a little bit farther down, and then there's a Proseuglodon, which is another one, and it's pretty much almost to the top of the head. But you can see this is tracing the steps in our evolution. And there's also, I'm sorry, if you have any comments, you can feel free to make them. I don't want to just like bulldoze you over.
No. Keep going.
Okay. Well, the last piece I wanted to mention was going on with the. We look at the limbs. Clearly, the limbs of whales are very vestigial. If you look in like the Basilosaurids, for instance, Basilosaurus has these little yet still externally visible hind limbs, which scientists think it used for clasping the female Basilosaurus during sexual reproduction. And so they're just getting smaller and smaller and smaller as the whales are becoming more and more whale-like, I guess, if you will. But we even see, and what's very interesting is in baleen whales, the ones who eat krill, like blue whales and whatnot.
Yeah.
So these baleen whales, they actually have the genes for making teeth. Like sperm whales have teeth and dolphins have teeth. They have the genes for making teeth, even though they don't make teeth.
Yeah, they have those bristle things.
Yeah, the baleen. So they have the genes for making teeth, and also when we look in the fossil record, we find whales like I think Adiocetus is one of them. I know Chonocetus is one. Chonocetus has both baleen and teeth, so it kind of bridges this gap in, well, where did the baleen come from? You know, if all these whale ancestors have teeth, and so we see this half teeth, half baleen whale, and we also see the remnants of toothed ancestors in modern whales. So there's a whole lot of independently confirming evidence for whales descending from terrestrial artiodactyls.
Okay.
I just want to throw in, I've so far thrown in the channels of you, Jackson, in the description, of AronRa and Paulogia, along with their Twitter handles.
Okay. Sweet.
I'll see if I can throw in the rest as well. I don't have them all handy here, but now I screwed up, I think.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, Grayson.
Yeah.
Christians.
I guess I have a very off-topic question, but it's more for you. So in your channel's description, you talk about that you're an atheist from the Netherlands, inspired by AronRa, Matt, Dylan Hunty, and Seth Andrews, going on and stuff.
Yeah.
So you say on the very bottom, it's time to leave religion behind us. It's ruining the world. Do you truly believe that, or is that just?
Sorry,
rather-
you dropped off.
Okay.
After the people you mentioned, you said you say, and then you dropped off.
Okay.
Can you?
Yeah, I can repeat myself. On the very bottom of your description, it says that we should leave religion behind us because it's ruining the world.
Yes.
Do you really truly believe that, or is that like just rhetoric trying to get your point across?
No, I really truly believe that, because I'll try and explain it.
I think that's
because
the fundamental thing that I disagree with you, is probably that, because I don't think that it really ruins anything. I mean, obviously there's these jihadists in the Middle East, of course, destroying homes, destroying lives, obviously, but in the name of religion.
Yes, I agree, but to me, at least, the fundamentalist Christians in the US do exactly the same thing, because they are keeping children from having a decent education. And I have one example. What if a young Earth creationist would give birth to someone who's able to find the cure for cancer, but never gets the correct education to get there?
Oh, yeah.
And that's just one example. And another one is, I think, one of Matt Delahunty's prime points is about what I believe, if that's actually true, yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
And so, where do you stand on that?
Personally, I believe that as people have definitely done a lot of good in the world. They definitely provided a lot of progress. I believe that many religions give progress. The existence of capitalism, for example. I know you can disagree with capitalism, socialism, whatever, but well, for example, a Jewish scholar in the 12th century, Nachmanides, I can't pronounce, that there had to be 10 dimensions and that we experience only 4 of them, time. Then fast forward to the 20th century, then particle physicists finally determined that there are 10 dimensions and only 4 are measurable. The other 6 are curled into less than 10 centimeters to the negative 33rd power. So obviously that's still a theory, but there's a Jewish scholar who simply studied Genesis, the book of Genesis, to determine that there are 10 dimensions.
Well, I have to throw in my 2 cents on that.
We were both, I think.
Oh, okay. Would you like to go, Peter?
No, go ahead, because I think you're going to make the same point I would.
Okay. So here's the difference. The problem, I mean, sure, maybe the guy got it correct, but we can't just throw darts in the darkness until we hit the dartboard. There has to be a way for finding the dartboard, and then we can throw darts at it. If he may have gotten it correct, sure, but you can make a whole lot of other ideas based on Genesis that are totally incorrect, and that's why the scientific method is so important, because it helps us trim the ideas to see which ones are correct and which ones aren't. So we aren't just guessing randomly.
Yeah, and I still have a different point, because you just pointed out a Jewish scholar, but
yes,
what's the religion got to do with his findings?
He closely studied Genesis and determined there had to be at least 10 dimensions.
And he got that from Genesis.
Yes.
What part?
That's new to me, because that's one I
his
never
name-
heard.
Nachmanides. I can send it to you guys. How do I chat on this thing? I've never used Google Hangouts before.
On the on the left, if you go up to the top left of the screen where there's a little blue chat. Yeah.
That is his name. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, but I still struggle to see where he got that from Genesis. But I'll have to check it. I can't comment it.
No, absolutely.
On it
Go ahead.
before I know. But if you take Genesis, there are so many errors in Genesis that I wouldn't take that as a source to go from to discovering anything. So my problem: what did religion ever do to make progress? Because that's something I haven't found so far.
Okay. Well, capitalism again. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Doctor because greatest man to ever live, pushing civil rights and anti-war movements. Francis Collins was a Christian, one of the greatest geologists to live. Galileo.
Yes, he's a geneticist. Francis Collins is a geneticist.
But listen, the fact that people are religious has no bearing on what they find if they use the scientific method.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
That's my point. Because if we look at cosmology, for instance,
sure,
most of the early findings and the names of the stars are Islamic or Arabic, however you want to call it, because they at the time were the ones making the most progress, and that's not progress because of their religion, but the progress was halted because of the religion. Same goes for Newton.
And geology. In geology, the first people to realize the Earth wasn't 6,000 to 10,000 years old were Christians. Christian geologists like Charles Lyell and James Hutton and others, and they still believed in God and everything, but they didn't use. I mean, they're great minds, touted as fathers of modern geology, but they didn't use their Christianity to figure out what we now know about geology. They just studied nature, and that's how they made their advances. That's what got them famous.
Well, yes, but that also shows that their religion didn't stop them from that, though. That's my point, is that it's not ruining the world. I'm not trying to say that religion's going to get us to, the future flying cars.
Well, these are two different points.
Can I give you a clear example that it does?
Sure, of course.
A specific person?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Todd Wood?
Yes.
Okay. Have you read his blog?
I have not read his blog, no.
Okay. He has a blog, and I'll have to thank Paulogia again, because he's the one, at least, who pointed it out to me. He has a blog on evolution, stating that evolution is a fact. He is stating that there is nothing in evolution that's not considered a fact. There are no problems in evolution. There are no holes in evolution. He pretty much states in an entire blog that everything we know so far about evolution is absolutely true, and then goes on saying that because he is a Christian, because he has a Bible, he has to reject all of the science and say everything came from a creator.
Uh-huh.
So there we have a scientist in the field who's actually gone and done the research on everything and still denying it because of his religion.
Okay.
He's not the only one. There's Kurt Wise too who does it.
But evolution itself doesn't necessarily interfere with your beliefs anyway. I mean, like the Catholic, like the Vatican, for example, Catholics all over the world believe in evolution and believe that it was created from God.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like,
and there I have to, and there I don't agree with Dawkins on everything. But I have to side with Richard Dawkins on this one, and that is that the young Earth creationists at least are the most honest people when it comes to religion, because they adhere to what the Bible actually says. Because evolution is in 100% contradiction with what the Bible says. So if you say it doesn't interfere, I think it does. Because and Ken Ham states this: if you throw out Genesis, then you have to throw out Jesus as well. The reason for Jesus disappears, then the entire religion collapses.
How would removing Genesis remove Jesus?
Why did Jesus come on earth? What was the reason? What was the reason for Jesus to come on earth?
To die for people's sins and wrongdoings.
Okay, when did sin enter the world?
In Genesis, but
if you throw that out, then there's no reason for Jesus to die for anyone's sins, because there's no sin. So when it comes to being sincere, to me, the young Earth creationists are at least the ones that are the most sincere in their religion. They're catastrophically wrong about everything they claim, but they at least are sincere. And so, and that, to me, that's why I made that statement in my on my channel, that I think that we need to get past religion, unless someone comes up with definitive proof that there is a God, and if so, which one? Because I'm still waiting for that, and I've done a lot of talking on Twitter and here on YouTube to find that out, and there's no one who can point me in any good directions. Just looking at the chat, Charis is in the chat. I think I missed part of the chat. If you want to come in, Charis, just let me know, and I'll send you the link.
I mean, I'm just here for the biology stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, Charis, I talked to you in DM, and I told you a little bit about who Charis is. Charis is a former young Earth creationist, and she's normally my co-host. We opted today for me to go alone, but if she wants to come in, I can look at the chat now, but I still don't think that I get what's going on there. I've been focusing on this a little bit too much. But if she wants to come in, she can come in. Charis can at least tell us a little bit more about why we might be better off without religion, I think. As I said, we didn't plan on her coming in. If she wants to, she can. That's fine with me. But let's go back to you, Grayson. You said, so what do you think today? What do you think that religion has to offer that a secular community couldn't offer? Is there
I don't.
anything that a theist could do that an atheist can't do?
I don't think they can do anything that an atheist can't do, and I don't think an atheist can do anything that a theist can't do. I believe that we all have different looks on the world. We live similarly, though. Honestly, the way I see it, we all have different ideals. We all have different perspectives. People do it through science. People do it through religion. People do it through both. I personally try to do it through both, and I just feel like we're all just trying to get by socially, economically. We're all just trying to make it in the world. I think today, 2017, we have done a pretty good job doing that. Again, like I said earlier, the Middle East has a lot of things going on, but rather than just because of their religion, a lot of political unrest is most of the reasoning for what's going on in the Middle East and all this killing in the name of religion. But I honestly don't think that religion as a whole is truly putting back the world in any way.
I'll have to step in because there are several examples of killing for religion in the United States.
Okay.
And that's just going to the worst part. But there's a lot of damage done by religion. Even now, and even in the US.
Well, yeah. There's also a lot of killing in the name for no absolute reason. For just being a psychopath, not being depressed, being social.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of the problems that religion causes aren't necessarily concerning homicide. I think there are a lot more issues out there than just one person killing another over beliefs.
Whatever. Yeah.
We were talking about education earlier. I live in Louisiana. I have seen the effect of creationists and intelligent design proponents on the education system. We still have a law in effect today, which was passed in 2008, the Louisiana Science Education Act, which, while it doesn't explicitly say you can teach intelligent design or creationism, it opens the door for those things to be taught. And my girlfriend she went to a middle school where her teacher deliberately skipped over the evolutionary biology material.
Okay.
And so I fortunately have not had to deal with that. I think I had a pretty good schooling, so I didn't have to deal with any of that. But Texas is another example. AronRa is big into that. So if you follow him, he talks a lot about it. There was a textbook a number of years ago that said Moses was one of the first founding fathers and that he invented democracy, even though he would have certainly been a theocratic leader. And that kind of stuff, that's not uncommon. It really is not uncommon. The creationists
they've also revised the definition of science in a way that under the current definition, astrology could be considered to be science. And this is actually true.
Yeah. Good old astrology.
Yeah, well, it wasn't done. It wasn't done to consider astrology to be true. The reason they redefined science was to make it possible to slip in the intelligent design as being science. That was the reason, and by doing that, they opened the door for astrology and. I always keep forgetting the English name for it. The alchemy.
Oh, yeah.
Well.
Ooh, alchemy, good stuff.
So
Yeah, Full Metal
if you
Alchemist.
say that the religion isn't harmful, could sit here until tomorrow and list things in which it's harmful.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The
I'm not saying
very
it's not harmful at all. It definitely can be in some cases, but at the same time, I can bring up something that atheism has done to
You
attribute
can't.
to horrors.
please
You
don't say
can't.
Hitler. Please
I
don't
was
say
not going to say
Hitler.
Hitler. I was not going
Okay,
to say
thank
Hitler.
you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be blunt because you can't.
I'd actually like to hear it. What it is.
We have no one so far who committed any crime in the name of atheism.
Well, not in the name of atheism, but
Not
with
one.
atheistic ideas.
There are no
Who?
atheistic ideas.
Who is
There are no. What would you think
I
is
was
an
gonna-
atheistic idea?
Well, I think a religious belief.
Hi,
Define an atheistic idea.
it? Whoa.
The absence.
I actually do want to
Some
know
believing
who's the person.
I was going to refer to communism. 62 million deaths.
No,
I would.
no, that
No.
that was not atheism, or that was not caused by
Really?
atheism. That was in fact, a lot of communistic ideas were totally anti-science, like Lysenkoism, for example, was totally anti-science. But also, the people worshipped the state as
Yes.
Yes.
it was about.
Communism is a form of religion, actually.
Well, I want to go that far. Communism's a economical government standpoint.
No, it's not. Not only that.
I
Well,
think
yeah,
you
it
might,
Only
deals in
that.
social
And
sciences.
Peter.
the only country that I can point to that at least makes it quite clear is North Korea.
That's nationalism, not
Is-
communism, though. That's the religious idea. Communism is just an
Let's go
economic type
Chomsky
of
in
thing.
here.
Economic and social. Yeah, it deals with social sciences.
It's nationalism that's more along the lines of religion, and that often does go hand in hand with communism and other isms, even capitalism. I mean, they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. What I try to point out, and what the question that I would like to have answered is what do you think is an atheist idea or an atheist? I forgot.
Oh, I just said not believing that there's a deity of any kind. That's what I was saying.
That's not atheism.
So wait, how has that affected any deaths?
How's that affected what?
How has that affected deaths or things like or anything like that? Any
Like
problems?
how would that like be connected to communism in any way?
How is the concept of not believing in a god caused problems socially or politically or what have you?
Well, the very creation of republics is based upon human rights and religious ideals. That's how we got the United States, for example, was because
No,
of
it's
that.
not.
No.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
No.
How so?
No.
Okay, so well, I mean, I'll toss it over to Charis.
No, you go ahead.
You want me
Want
to?
me to do it? Want me to do it as a foreigner?
Okay, well, yeah, sure, go ahead, Peter.
As a foreigner, I think I'm the best one to do this. The United States is actually the opposite. You have a separation of church and state.
That's not in the Constitution. That's just from a letter, and it was in the and it was meant in the
The
complete
first-
opposite reason.
The First Amendment deestablishes all religions.
It's
No,
only
it
the
mean-
phrase. It's only the phrase separation of church and state that
Yes.
was in that letter, but the principle is in fact in the Constitution.
No,
Just
but you're
like the
getting.
Trinity, it's like the Trinity. Trinity is scriptural, but the word Trinity is not.
But everyone takes a separation from church and state completely out of context. It's in the opposite. It was allowing these people to allow them to have canons to defend themselves, defending their religion. That's completely different. It's not defending the state from religion. It's defending religion from the state. That's the point. Not outlawing religion or having a religious state. That's what it is. It's the defense.
Oh, sorry. I keep jumping in there. Sorry.
I'm the
the-
foreigner here, and even I know that that's incorrect.
Okay, so what? Well, the saying when you say take it out of context, I think that's just a corollary of saying that religions won't be attacked by the
The state.
government in the
Yes.
same way. Yes, by the state in the same way that the state won't be influenced by religions. Those really
Religions,
seem
yeah.
to be. I mean that those are both. Those seem to be equally valid. They just seem
Yeah.
to be like two halves of the same whole. But what I think a lot of people were talking about when they're referring to the separation of church and state is the second one. They're talking about the government not being influenced by religion. So I don't think that's really taking it out of context. I think that's just a half
it's a
of the
two-way-
whole.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're talking about something, you should take on the whole. You shouldn't be just talking about one half, trying to influence your political ideologies. Just taking one half, that's cherry picking. That's not looking at the whole situation. That's taking something out of context.
But I think
That's
we-
paraphrasing. Trust me,
How did we get there from here, or how do we get here from where we were? Because I'm really confused right now.
we were talking
Yes,
about what,
let me throw in just one thing. But we have a German in the chat who, from memory, threw in: Congress shall pass no law respecting an establishment of religion while protecting the free exercise thereof. He asked if he's accurate.
Congress shall
Yeah.
pass a law
Yeah.
respecting an establishment of religion while protecting the free exercise thereof. Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
So
That is separation of church and state.
That's separation of church and state.
Yeah, I just
Thanks to
I confirmed that earlier. But I'm
thanks
saying
to
in
I
people's
think
arguments, you only take the
it's-
one half. Is my point. I'm not trying to say that there shouldn't be a separation of church state. Like I don't think that religion should be taught in schools, unless it's for historical purposes, like when we're talking about the Middle East. You could bring, but or Judaism when you're talking about the Holocaust.
well, no, I think that they accept the other part also. I think they totally accept that religion should be free from the state intervention. It's just that what the problem is the religions try too often to get into the state to deal with certain legislation that they believe is important to them, so they want to change it for the rest of us, or at least put into effect legislation that would affect the rest of us that has a religious motivation. And so that's when we start getting into people talking about the separation of church and state.
No, like I agree with you. Like when you brought up that law in Louisiana, for example, that's definitely not what I would consider to be, personally for myself, I don't believe that would be constitutional. But I live over here in a progressive state, and especially the areas I live, a lot of socialists and very, very far left-leaning ideals in the area that I live in, Oregon. I have, for example, no tolerance for religion whatsoever. And this is especially the area where they only want to argue the one half, and that's just kind of the area raised in. So that's why I bring that up even more so, because in Washington, California, that's just how it is over here.
Define tolerance, please.
Define tolerance.
Yes, please.
Allowing someone to read a Bible at lunch and not trying to preach it to anybody else. You're just reading it alone.
I've never seen. I mean, I'm in. You know, I've just. That's not a law. Like you can actually do that. Kids do that all the time.
No,
Yeah, I've
yes,
seen
I
it
agree.
quite a
That's what I'm saying in Oregon, in the area I live, it's not tolerant.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's all across the U.S. Continue.
Continue with what?
The
Oh,
that
you're
law,
saying something.
the Louisiana law that you mentioned, it had a. We have a lot of groups. Well, there are a lot of groups in the United States that have to fight against things like that. They exist simply because of religiously motivated groups trying to get in legislation like that. The Louisiana Science Education Act came from intelligent design proponents, and we had guys like Zach Coplin down here trying to fight against it because they're trying to introduce creationism and intelligent design into public lots and lots of children.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
that's wrong. People should be fighting against that. I wouldn't want that in public schools personally.
And on the same by the same token, what you were saying about the alleged incident, I'm assuming there must have been an incident specifically where a kid was they actually got into trouble simply for silently reading a Bible to themselves. If that happened, that needs to be vigorously prosecuted. Please don't say that's a leftist type of thing. Because
I wasn't saying it's leftist. I'm saying that's just they call themselves leftist, but I'm just saying that's the area that I live in Oregon.
Is this a law, or where can it be? Is there a place where we can look it up that this is actually a law where a child is not allowed to read to themselves?
It wasn't a law. I'm saying this is like teachers, staff.
Where can we look this up?
That is unacceptable.
Yeah, it is very unacceptable. Where can we look this up that it's regularly occurring?
I don't know if it's regularly occurring, but I on hand
Where
with
would-
one of my friends. I honestly don't know if it ever made the news. Let me Google it real quick. Actually, I don't know if I want to be doxxed here and exactly where I live, but let me look it up. I live by.
Me.
No one's out to dox you. That's.
I honestly don't know if it ever made.
Quite like you. So.
I don't know if it ever made media or anything. It might have been local papers. So I live in the Eugene area, more specifically Cresswell, small town.
You're talking
just south.
about this, right? This is one incident that happened with your friend. I'm assuming that you were witness to it, and I'm wondering, like, where you're getting that, because you said this is Oregon, the area that I'm with, and now you're talking statewide. I'm wondering, statewide problem, where somebody needs to be getting to the ACLU, because that is a secular organization that fights against this very type of thing.
The what? Fights against secular? I can
No, they don't fight against secular. They are a secular organization.
Oh,
The
they are
American
secular.
Civil Liberties Union.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because you went from this being one incident that happened with your friend, so it's anecdotal, not that it didn't happen. I'm just saying this is one incident, and now you're saying that this is happening. You said your words pretty much were, and this is Oregon. This is going on like in the area that I live, and you've gone from your one situation to now statewide Oregon. And so I'm wondering how we got to this being a statewide epidemic from this one incident. Not to minimize what happened or allegedly happened, because that's awful. I'm wondering how you got to Oregon from there.
I wasn't trying to say that happens all over Oregon. The point I was trying to make is that Oregon itself, if you look at its policies, is very, well, I guess I'm going to have to say leftist, even if you don't like that, because I myself am liberal, but
I'm just wondering how is being liberal meaning that it's okay to stomp on somebody's civil liberties? What are you saying about liberalism when you say that?
No, not liberalism, because I'm a liberal. I wouldn't be doing that. It goes into the far left ideologies is trying to be a unification under one banner. That
No.
is radical. Yes, it is.
No,
For example, okay, how so?
that's what I'm asking you. Go ahead. How so?
Communism, for example, is a far left ideology. Nazism is a far left ideology. Fascism is a far left ideology. What do those all have in
No.
common? A
No.
one.
And
Fascism
no.
can
not-
be either left or right. I mean, it fascism is just
Nazism is only far right.
That's incorrect. Nazism, the Nazi literally means the National Socialist Party of Germany.
They were far right.
Yeah,
No,
socialism is not
they could be-
exclusively left.
They were considered right back in the 40s and the late 30s because of anything that was considered not communist at the time or socialist was considered right wing.
It still
Like-
is. I live in Europe, and we are still fighting Nazism,
Well,
and it is still far right.
no,
So
it's
I think
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you can-
literally
you
in their
can-
name,
you can-
it's socialist. Literally in the name.
yeah, the name doesn't say anything.
just like the Institute for Creation Research isn't actually a research center nor an institute.
or Kent Hovind has a ministry, Creation Science Evangelism.
Ugh.
That
No
doesn't make it
science involved.
science.
Can't hold it, we're
So
talking
don't
about.
look at the name. That's what I want to say. But
Well, there's
we also veered off the point where we were discussing whether or not religion contributes in any way to progress.
Mhm.
And it could just be me. Still haven't heard one single point where religion contributes to progress.
I can
It
think
doesn't-
of when a religion can help with some psychological damage mitigation when it comes to instances of severe abuse.
Yes. Yeah. They're very
And
good at building
also-
communities.
But
Yes, and I was going to say that.
But is that specific to religion, or can that be done in the secular means as well?
It is not necessarily exclusive to religion, it's just more common to it. Because religion, by its very nature.
In the US,
What do you mean?
it's not more
Well,
common here.
we have a predominantly religious culture in the U.S. So yeah.
Yes, that's what I was trying to point out. But it's not something that can only be done by religious people. So
Right.
it's not to me. It's not something where religion contributes to progress.
Our German friend in the comments said comfort has nothing to do with the topic of progress, in my opinion. I'll agree that comfort does not directly contribute to progress. However, if it sets an otherwise troubled mind at ease and lets that troubled mind then work on progress, it can be a shadow benefit. But then again, I mean,
Yes, but it has nothing to do with the religion
Well,
as such.
I like what I like what Lawrence Krauss said. He said if you ask a physicist or a biologist what progress has, or what, I guess what advances have, or what have they contributed to knowledge? That's what he asks them. What has biology or physics contributed to knowledge? Then the physicist or biologist will rapidly explain all these advances that have been made. But if you ask a theologian, what has theology contributed to knowledge? They'll say, "What do you mean by knowledge?"
Yeah, I think that's what's keeping us a little bit from the topic as well, because when I mean progress, I mean a scientific progress. Maybe I should have been more clear in my question.
I guess I was meaning more broad progress as far as even a species, on occasion, religious thought, whether it be Christianity or humanism or any sort of an ideological gathering of like minds, it can help with that society in some way, but it can also be a drawback. It's kind of like any sort of a toxin which can have some benefits and drawbacks, especially if it starts being used too much, it can kill.
Yeah, but I still don't see the religious origin in it, because and I come from an atheist country and an atheist community. Maybe it's that's why I see it different. I still see people helping people.
Well, you don't see that here in America. Think about the lone atheist in a Bible Belt society.
Yeah, but I'm not looking.
Go me.
Charis, I'm not looking. I'm not looking at a lonely atheist. When I see a church community helping people, I still see people helping people.
Yeah.
I was getting to that point.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. I forgot what I was saying. It's fine.
I'll distract everyone with my
Sorry. Sorry. See, but that's what I was trying to point out. That you can go to religion. It always boils down to people helping people, and so that's where I struggle to find anything that religion contributes. It's in the US, is predominantly Christian, and they have Christian communities, and they have a lot of communities that do a lot of good work. I would be the last to deny that. But to me, that has nothing to do with the religion. It is a community doing the work.
Well, I guess that goes back to my point that I said that a theist can do anything that an atheist can do, and an atheist can do anything that a theist can do. I'm not saying one's better than the other.
And I would
be very bigoted to say that one can do anything.
I disagree with that statement as well. And I can give you one example. The whole world knows that what you just stated is exactly wrong.
Okay.
A theist can fly a plane into a building for a god. An atheist could never do that.
But an atheist can still take lives in the same way, but just out of psychopathy or sociopathy.
An atheist can take lives, but not in the name of atheism.
Yes. Well, of course not, but they're still taking lives. It's all just a means to an end.
Yes.
I've actually got to drop out. I gotta go. I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for talking to you, dude.
Thanks for jumping in.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, Jackson.
What I'm trying to say is the possibility you just threw in. An atheist can be a psychopath, sure.
Yes.
But a theist can be a psychopath.
Oh, we're all
that has nothing.
All just humans anyway.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the religion or the lack of the religion.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's all just a means to an end. I mean, the loss of a life is a loss of life. I don't care how it got there. Yeah, I don't care about the excuses. It's a loss of a life, and it's morally wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong to atheists. I don't believe that an atheist isn't going to be moral or anything, and I don't believe that it's going to be moral or anything. It's like you guys were saying that it's community, but if you like a Christian, for example, is going to want to follow as closely as they can in the image of Jesus, for example. Jesus stopped people from being stoned, talked to prostitutes, was very giving, very charitable. For example, he didn't. He was a nomad. He was moving around. He wasn't going to take up space from other people. He was going to let people him if he wants to. He healed people. If whether or not you believe he was actually healed people, but he would have.
Yes, I agree with those. He also called for you to hate your father, your mother, your brother, and your sister. He also endorsed slavery. Every good point, there's a bad point, I think.
In that time, slavery wasn't exactly the same way as in the U.S. or that we oppress African Americans.
Sorry, but that's absolutely wrong. At that point, slavery was as bad as American slavery, and exactly the same as American slavery. In fact, the Bible was used to keep slavery intact in the U.S.
Well, again, that's them taking the scripture out of context.
No. The scripture points out that you can own a human being as property. Now, please explain to me how that's different from American slavery. And that's not only endorsed by God, it's commanded in verses. Are you still here?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't know that?
No, I'm very well versed in the Bible.
Exodus
Obviously, I need to know what I'm reading.
Exodus 21.
Okay, why don't we do Exodus 21? Verse, or is that just the?
Oh, I don't have all those memorized. I'll have to remind you, I'm 55 years old. I'm an atheist born and bred, and I started reading the Bible 4 years ago. I've read it twice back to front. That's just not enough to memorize all the verses, although people could blame me because I use them a lot, that I should maybe memorize them.
Okay. Exodus 21.
I know that
21. I know. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years. If I remember correctly, slavery didn't have a cap. That sounds more like indentured servitude.
Okay, keep reading.
But in the 7th year, he shall go free without paying anything. If he comes alone, he is to go free alone. But if he has a wife, she is to go with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall belong to her master, and only the servant declares, I love my master and my wife and children, and do not want to go free, then his master must take him before the judges. He shall take him to the door or the doorpost and pierce his ear with an awl. Then he will be his servant for life. When in slavery does a slave ever want to stay with their master? This is clearly a very different slavery.
Hold on, you just totally missed a huge part of that. Can you guess what it is?
The life part?
Oh God. You just broke my head.
He is his property for life.
That's not even what I was talking about.
No. Yeah, I want to know what you were talking about.
Just guess. There's another, what should be an obvious part of this, and you're totally missing it.
Is it the children staying with the wife's master?
And what else?
I literally just closed I closed it before you start talking. Here, let me open it up in my history. Those are the two parts that I could see being taken wrongly.
Oh.
No, from memory. I'm opening back up. Don't worry. Oh, only the man shall go free?
How did you have to look that up?
Well, I don't know the verse on like.
Okay. I'm.
Okay. Are you?
I think I'm gonna take my ovaries out of this conversation. I've got to go do some stuff. Bye.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, Charis.
Yeah.
I have another one for you. Leviticus 25, 44 to 46.
25, 40, 25, Okay.
44. Yes.
But again, like my point is, when would ever a slave want to stay with their master willingly and then be brought up for?
That's not the point.
He's not a servant for life unless
Whether
he wants
or not.
to be.
No, you are missing the point completely. No, you're missing the point completely. He doesn't want to be a slave. He might love his wife.
But when would that? No, I love and my wife. The wife is the second part of the sentence. The first part is master first, and children, and I do not want to go free. Then the master's like, okay, let's go in front of the judges. Let's go into a court of law
And which part of the woman staying a slave did you miss?
The only the man shall go free?
Yes.
Well, that is an arranged marriage because it says if his master gives him a wife, it isn't a wife of his choosing.
What was the wife when his master gave him?
She was a servant as well, a Hebrew servant as well.
No, she wasn't a servant.
If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters.
Yes, then she's not a servant. If the wife stays, that means that she's a slave.
That she's a slave, yeah.
And you missed that.
Yeah, I read that out just before she left.
Yes, and I think that I'm not sure if it's in Exodus, but I think it is.
Now I'm looking at
where it specifically states that the woman shall not go free after 7 years. Did you catch that part?
Sorry, I was reading Leviticus. Could you just repeat what you said, please?
I said I don't know if that's in Exodus or in Leviticus. I don't know. But it's in the Bible that the woman does not go free after 7 years.
Let me just scroll down. To find that if man sells his do, which does not, if she does not please her who has selected her for, let her be redeemed. Well, it said, oh yeah, okay, so it says a man sells his daughter as a servant. She is not to go free as male servants do. But if she does not please the master who has selected her for himself,
wait. Read the first part.
Yeah, if a man sells his daughter as a servant, she is not to go free as.
Stop. If a man sells his daughter.
Yes, as a servant, yes.
That's slavery, yes. Does it say as a servant?
Yes, it actually, yeah, it does say as a servant.
What Bible version are you using?
Let me go see. That was just the first. That was just the first result.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, NIV, the New International Version. I could go on King James if you'd like.
Yes, King James says says bond servant. Do you know what a bond servant is?
A bond servant would be a slave.
Yes. Someone who is sold, is that a servant or is that a slave?
Well, that would be a slave. No, it would be a slave.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard to say. So, well, we've now at least established that slavery is in there. I could point you to genocide, then kidnapping, and subsequent commanded by God.
Wait, what was commanded by God?
Genocide.
Oh, okay.
Kidnapping, and child sex slavery.
Where does it say child sex slavery?
I'll have to look it up.
Okay, I just want to get that one clarified.
Sure. I'll have a screen open. You can keep the women children. It's not coming up. That's weird. For yourselves. Numbers 31:18.
Okay, Numbers 31.
I'll start at 17 for you. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones and kill every woman who has known a man intimately. But all the girls who have not known a man intimately spare for yourself. There's only one reason why they would save women that have not known a man intimately. I think we can at least agree on that.
Yeah, I definitely will agree with that.
That's a direct command of God to get child sex slaves.
Okay. But
and that is endorsed by Jesus.
Well, no, because Jesus, when
And
Jesus came,
there are a couple of verses, and it's a pity because Charis had the idea to add in stuff in talks like I'm doing now when I go to have video with my talks. So what I did is I created a Bible and I put in that the most horrible verses that I'm aware of right now. One of them is Jesus telling Christian slaves to obey their masters. Other one where Jesus says slaves had to obey their master, especially the cruel ones. That's a clear endorsement of slavery. No matter which way you want to look at it.
As far as the Exodus one goes, again, this is not in the original language. The Hebrew word, I do not know how to pronounce it, can either be translated as slave, it could be translated as servant, bondsman, servitor, thrall, serf, maidservant, drudge. So again, these are translated by human beings. So truly, we don't know the actual.
If they're translated by human beings,
yes.
Why not throw the book away? If it's that unreliable, why not throw it away?
Well, that's why a lot of biblical scholars do actually refer to the Septuagint and the Torah.
I'm not asking a biblical scholar. I'm now asking you,
me
as a believer, having a Bible.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
The book away.
Well,
it's that unreliable.
Okay. Personally, for myself, I really do be diligent with this stuff, and I go check what it would say in the original language. I actually do that, which is why I did that in this instance as well. I do that all the time.
Okay, not to attack you.
Oh no, of course, by all means, go ahead.
But at least to give you a reason to think.
No, go ahead.
If you go to the Hebrew text, where does that get you?
Well, then it wouldn't be a slave. Then it could easily be a bondsman or a maid. It literally could be butler for all we know. And we don't view butlership as slavery either, or a maid as slavery.
First of all, I disagree with the fact that in the Hebrew text it doesn't mean slave, because I know someone who specializes in the Hebrew text, and he assured me that it does mean slave.
Mm-hmm.
But What I was pointing to is now you're looking at the Hebrew text.
Yeah.
How accurate is that?
Significantly more accurate than the English
Than what?
any of the English translations. Than the English translations, any of them. King James, New International Version.
How did you establish that?
Because it's in Hebrew and that's the original language it was written in. At least for the Old.
Okay, but how accurate is it?
More accurate than the other one.
And how would you know? How would you know if it's more accurate?
Well, there's not a way to actually fully know.
You have no originals.
Yeah, of course. Of course, you don't have
nothing even close. And when it comes to Hebrew texts, you have so many texts that differ from each other. Way of knowing, because all those texts were copied by man, by hand, at different places, in different circumstances, and by men with different backgrounds. So you have nothing that comes even close to being accurate. And you can say that the English translations might be wrong, and yeah. I'd say every single document we have might be wrong.
Yeah,
but that doesn't get us anywhere from what the Bible that is currently around is saying. Because if you say that this verse might be wrong because people translated it, what makes you think the verses you mentioned as being good are correctly translated and not in fact mean something completely different?
Well, that's why you just go, even for the good verses, as simple as God so loved the world, he gave his one and only son, and whoever believes it, blah, blah, blah. Even I would go and recheck that, go look in Hebrew and go see what it actually says. I mean, that one wouldn't be in Hebrew. Go back and see what it says in Greek to get the literal translation. To make so even in the nicest, simplest text, I'll still go double check and fact check and go see how it was in the oldest language, in the Septuagint.
How can you fact check a document that is for which you have no author?
Well,
and there's anything in that document is at best secondhand. At best. And that goes for the entire New Testament. So how would you even come close to verifying anything in it? Have you ever questioned that yourself?
Yeah, I have.
And can I ask what you found?
Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. What I found. Well, what I found is just more questions, of course, but that's what I find in everything. You always got to jump on a limb for whatever it is that you believe in. That's like the point of faith. Why would you do that?
Why would you do it? Yes. Why would you take anything on faith? I'll make it even simpler. Can you name me one thing that you can take on faith that's absolutely reliable?
Well, there's so many things that we take based on just faith.
Like what?
As simple as love.
No, we don't.
I mean a love with
No, no, we
another
don't.
person. I
No,
know
we
that's what I'm
don't.
saying. I'm not we never have a jump of faith for love or someone that we like.
No.
But if you're interested in this girl, you're never fully confident if she's gonna like you, if she's interested in you as well. You're gonna have to take a leap of faith.
Wouldn't she show signs, you think?
Well, some guys are kind of stupid.
And still,
Hey,
and
just like your
still,
name, you know, sometimes you gotta go for it.
that to me would be a more plausible
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just saying that
reason, because
to jump.
I've gone for women that I could never get, but hey, I at least gave it a shot. And when we turn it around, I currently live with 2 women who are a lot younger than I am. One of them went for me, and it took her a year to get me, because I kept that away from myself, because I thought that the age difference would become a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I liked her, and she was cute, and she was kind, and she was nice, and we had a lot in common. And the only reason I didn't want to get involved was the age difference. So, but what I'm pointing at is there's no faith involved, not at all.
Okay.
So, and to me, I agree with AronRa on this, that faith is the most dishonest position to have in defining if something's true or not.
That's fair. That's completely fair.
So that's why I ask what you found when you studied the New Testament. Because there is nothing. And again, I'm not attacking you.
No, I know you're not.
What I'm trying to do is make you rethink
everything. Yeah, rethink my beliefs.
Decisions.
I get it. No. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I completely understand what you're doing, and if I was you, I would be in the same exact position as you. Like, I completely get it. And if I'm going to be honest, this entire conversation has been, I feel like it's been very fruitful, and I feel like it's gotten me thinking. And I'm sure when man, what's his name that hopped in here?
Jackson.
Jackson. When Jackson came in here, I'm sure you learned some new.
Yes, and but there's a one thing I think that's a lot more important.
Yeah.
I don't think that you watched more videos on my channel. Am I correct?
Wait, like more than what?
You watched the one with Kent Hovind. Did you watch any more?
I watched the one with Kent Hovind, and I watched one other one. I don't remember what one it was. I think it was your second to last newest one.
Okay.
Michelle,
can I
between
ask
theism
you,
and atheism. That's what one I watched.
Yeah.
At least
it
looks like
a favor.
Yeah.
Favor? Can you watch the conversation I had with Charis?
Yeah, definitely. I'm subscribed to your channel for a reason. I'm gonna watch your stuff. and anything new that you come out
Okay,
with. So.
because Charis is now my at least my definitive co-host. I'm not sure if she likes what I'm saying now, because it's going to put a lot of pressure on her. But she's not only my co-host; she's at least a dear friend, and that's something that came up earlier today before we had our talk. But the reason that I want to ask you to listen to that conversation is because there's one thing that you missed. And I'm not saying that's entirely your fault. I'm saying that's because of the environment you're in and surrounding you. What you missed in this conversation, and I think that's why sorry, I'm struggling a bit. I think that's why Charis left. You missed that the Christian religion until this day thinks that women are
like property,
less than men, and are still property to the man they marry. And I think things will become clear if you listen to that conversation. It's a heavy one, and we didn't even touch on everything.
Yeah.
And the reason we didn't, because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
At least not at that point.
Yeah.
A lot more horror to come. But I thought it wasn't the time now to put everything out. If you really want to know why I think we would be better off without religion and without at least Christianity in particular, listen to that conversation.
Okay, I definitely will. Like, well, let's see here. We're probably gonna have to end this pretty soon. My laptop's pretty close to dying here, but definitely watch it on like my tablet for sure after this.
Okay, it's something I had to point out. It's something that's hitting home for me. And it's hitting home because of Charis. Maybe more because of Charis, but
yeah, I completely understand.
Charis isn't the only one. Might even be that Charis is one of the luckier ones, because she got away, which doesn't mean that everything is hunky-dory by now.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's still a lot she has to deal with. So it's gotten a little bit more serious, I think, than I would have wanted it to, but I still think this is something I needed to point out.
Yeah, of course. I definitely want to like apologize. I was not leaving out the women part like on purpose or anything. I legitimately did not remember. And as soon as I reopened it, my eyes locked on, and that's the first thing I read. But I completely understand why she'd get angry about that.
It's not even so much being angry as being very disappointed in how people still think. And
Yeah.
as I said, I'm not blaming you as a person,
Mhm.
because I'm not sure how I would think if I would have grown up in the place where you grow up.
Mhm.
But the fact that I didn't at least makes me notice things. And I've
Yeah.
noticed things when I watched Kent Hovind, and I still notice things when I watch Ken Ham. Ken Ham has a woman sitting next to him when he does his answers news,
Yeah.
but the woman is still uh, uh, made fun of, is still not equal to him.
Yeah.
And
That's just
that's something, and
wrong.
that's something that actually pisses me off.
Yeah. Me too.
And um,
I don't. Yeah.
it's half of the American citizens who are second rate, and that's
Mhm.
something in 2017 shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be possible.
I
And
agree.
the fact that you just completely missed that part
Mhm.
is a sign that at least where you are, it's acceptable to think that and to even miss the the things that are clearly in front of you.
Well, it's definitely
because
not
because
acceptable where I am,
no,
for
but
sure.
but
Um.
what you missed is that the man can go free and the woman and the children stay with the master. That should have set off all the alarm bells you need.
Well, the
You
reason why I missed it was because I was so caught up in our conversation, and I was trying to think of the. I was trying to define
no,
slavery,
no, you weren't.
and
No, you weren't. The reason why you missed it is because it's normalized, because um it's a standard in the US, a standard that now uh, people are pulled away from, kicking and screaming, hanging on to their Bibles. I could point you out to websites, where Christian websites,
yeah.
where instructions on how you can beat your wife if she doesn't want to have sex with you. And
Oh
I
my,
could,
awful.
that's, they are there.
Yeah.
And the fact that
Um.
they are still there and no one is calling it out and no one is taking down those websites,
Yeah. Yeah.
then
Those definitely
it's
need to be removed.
then it's then it's a cultural mistake. Then it's acceptable within that culture to have it. There's also, I don't know his name. There's also a guy who wrote a book on how you can hit your children if they don't listen,
Uh-huh.
and it gives you instructions how to make a switch.
Yeah.
We
Well.
have the facts that children died because of that book.
Yeah. Um. Well.
Those are things,
Um.
that I'm fighting against. And
Yeah.
you can say what you want.
No, I'm not going to
Every
disagree with you at all. People should be fighting that. People should be fighting that to
Yes.
the ends of the earth. I agree with you. Um.
Yeah.
Abuse of any
I
kind
just
is disgusting. I agree with you 100%. But I'm just trying to explain that in my case, it's not why I was doing it. It's definitely not normalized how I was raised. Um. Again, feminism is a huge thing in Oregon, and um, I have a
your
lot.
fault. For most part, it's not your fault, but it's
Yeah, I'm just trying
something
to say.
you can change. It's something you can take on. That's why I always try to make people think about something.
Yeah. I believe that you're doing what I believe that you're in. I believe that you're completely doing the right thing too.
I want to address something in the chat right now.
Yeah. Oh, is it the
Banana
normalizing
Jack.
thing? Or
Yes.
okay, yeah,
No.
go ahead.
Banana Jack. That I'm grouping everyone together. All Americans aren't misogynist. He says I'm a feminist. In generalizations, I'm not. I'm not saying that all Americans are like this. What I'm saying is there's a culture.
Yeah. Okay.
And again,
Especially in the South.
I'm not attacking you.
Yeah.
I'm not attacking you. And I was raised in an abusive home. To me, it was normal to be not physically, but mentally abused.
Yeah.
Until I went out and saw how my friends were treated at home. Then it's not normal anymore. So it's not attacking a person. It's making what I'm doing is I'm maybe making one person aware of this. If I'm lucky, more people will watch this video and more people will be aware of this.
Yeah. Well, of course, like what I want anybody to take from this is to think and to be critical. Critical thinking is key, and I feel like that's honestly lost in the world nowadays. In society, is thinking critically has disappeared. I feel like more and more as the internet's, I believe that the wheel's starting to turn for us to start thinking critically again.
You dropped off for a second.
Oh, I was saying that we kind of lost thinking critically. That's kind of been a lost art, I guess. But as technology and the internet progress, that's starting to come back, and that's a really good thing that people are starting to think critically and think for themselves again, and that's a really good thing. And that's exactly what you're doing, and I love that about you. And that's honestly why I was willing to have a conversation with you, because you're not so closed-minded. You have your beliefs, but at least you're open-minded and willing to have a conversation. Differently than you.
Yes, and the fact that you use that, I think I can counter, because critical thinking is being held back by religion. Because if people would start thinking critical, then it's just a matter of time before religions stop to exist.
If it naturally goes away because of critical thinking, you're not going to see me raging or protesting against it, because at least you're thinking by your own means and not following something blindly. So if you were a Christian and you became an atheist, good on you, because you were thinking for yourself. You're not being a mindless drone. That's literally all I want people to do, is to have free will, be allowed to do whatever you want, think how you want. So
I'll have to stop you again, because free will is an illusion.
Well, yeah, of course.
No one has free will.
Yeah. I was using that as a exaggeration.
Yes, but what I'm also trying to say is that if you think critically, do you think you can still believe in a God?
I think it's possible. Today, I'm going to reflect on everything that we talked about. Look at the sources you provided, and Jackson as well. I'm gonna reflect today.
If there's one thing, if you want to do me a favor, if there's one thing, start with the video I did with Charis.
Yeah, tablet, because my laptop's literally about to die, which is what I'm talking to you on right now. But yeah, I'll look it up on my iPad. Go ahead and watch that.
Yes, because I think if anything, um, that's that's uh, maybe even the most important.
Yeah,
The rest is science. The rest is science. You can find that everywhere.
yeah,
Um, if you want to see in your country, and that's not just only one person, but there are a
Mhm.
lot uh, a lot of women in the situation Charis was in,
yeah,
and and that won't stop
yeah.
anytime soon. So if you want to do me a
Uh,
favor, watch that first, and then go out and find the science. And if there's anything I can help you with, or if there are any questions you want to ask,
Mhm.
I would be happy to have a second conversation and to see what what happened and what you found.
Yeah, of course. I definitely want to stay in touch with you. Again, I think you're a wonderful person and your heart is 100% in the right place. Sure, we have differing opinions right now, but either way, I believe that as far as fundamentally, I believe that we have a very similar standpoint as far as like especially the horrors that's happening in our world. Are you familiar with the End It movement? End It movement, I guess.
You cut out.
Oh, are you familiar with the End It
No,
movement?
no.
Okay, it's a group of people, activists. I'm personally part of it. It's trying to raise awareness on human trafficking that exists today, like modern day slavery. So, and we'd like they give to like charities and raise money to allow these people to be freed from modern day slavery, from human trafficking, sex trafficking. It's a really beautiful movement. It's great because a lot of people think, oh, slavery was abolished. Abraham Lincoln, blah blah blah. They don't think about modern day slavery
Can
anymore.
can
And so that
can
connects
can
kind of what
can
we were
I
talking about.
can I ask um um uh what people you are uh where is it, this sex trafficking, where's that going on?
Oh, that happens in the US, happens in Mexico, uh, other nations in South America. There's literally
I won't
millions of
make
people.
myself
Huh?
popular with doing with saying what I'm what I'm about to say.
No, feel free to say whatever you
um
need to.
what do you think of arranged marriages in Christian homes?
I do not approve of arranged marriages. I'm against that.
But is that a point discussion in the movement you're in?
No, I don't think we talk about that. Actually, that could definitely be a tribute. That could definitely be a form of slavery. Yes, I would agree with you. I'm 100% against that. So, yeah,
Well, to me, it's nothing less than sex trafficking,
yeah. Actually, I would actually agree with you with that 100%. Yeah.
and supported by churches.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with you that I'm not going to argue
It
with
is
that at
it
all.
is it is it is easy to focus on things and to look past what happens in your own neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
Um, all,
Uh,
as I said, all I can ask is for you to listen to the chat with Charis.
yeah, to do that. I definitely will. Um, I'm at like
Uh,
8% here, battery.
okay, we're at 2 hours and 22 minutes. I think it's
Dang!
it's a good uh,
Oh,
point
wow.
to stop to stop.
Jeez.
We can at least we can stay in touch, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, as I offer this one was pretty much your topic. um I
Yeah.
I have "What do you believe and why" as the standard topic for the first conversation. I think we addressed that for a good point. So I'll stick to my usual second talk if you come up with a good topic.
Yeah.
It take at least about a week between this one and the next one.
Okay.
It gives you time to reflect, and it gives you time to check stuff.
Yeah, I definitely will.
If you listen to the talk I had with Charis, please let me know, and let me know what you think of that, because that's
like Twitter and stuff, or her own YouTube or anything.
You can drop me a DM on Twitter. That's perfectly fine.
Okay, cool.
Just me personally being curious what you think of that.
Okay.
And as I said, it was a tough one for me to do. And it even hurts when I listen back to it. So
okay.
That's yeah, that's what I want to say before you get in it. But I want to thank the people in the chat. More people, more people sticking around than usual. My biggest fan was here, so now I'm.
Yeah.
I shouldn't call her Barb, but I still do, just because I want to tease her. Thanks for being here, Barb. You know who you are. Yeah, we'll talk again, and thanks everyone for listening, and thank you, Grayson, for coming on and for contacting me in the first place.
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah, of course.
Okay. Looking at the chat, I'll call you Beach instead of Barb, but we'll talk again, and thanks everyone for listening, and see you all next time. Okay. So bye, Grayson.
Bye.
See you next time.
Okay.
Okay.